Welcome to another match preview here on Stones TV and the Maidstone United podcast. The sun's out and we're outside, why not? We're looking ahead to our final regular season game. It's our final away main season match and it's all about keeping momentum ahead of a probable playoff campaign. And we're going to visit Farnborough next. So a couple of games played over the Easter weekend, finishing with that 1-1 win for Tunbridge in their cup final on Easter Monday. But 3 days prior, the Stones had a thumping win at Welling on Good Friday, Nigel. It was a very good Friday indeed, but not for the Wings, who of course were relegated.
Yeah, it's, I saw a few sort of comments on Facebook and that, and sort of saying that the Welling didn't play that well and, it was like a training game and sort of thing like that, but it wasn't that result that relegated them, was it?
No.
Against us, they've hit a bad form and sacked the manager a few weeks ago, and it's obvious that they're building for next season now. They've released a few players throughout the season as well, so and it was sort of like that, wasn't it? Once we got that first goal, it was always going to be how many we was going to get, rather than whether Welling would equalise. So and then onto the Tunbridge game again. Bit of an anticlimax after the game, wasn't it? Because we didn't win the game, and having gone ahead as well in the game, we didn't sort of kick on and make that advantage count. But as it proved, it's all but done, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I'll put my hat and mortgage on any house you want to that most going to be in the playoffs, and as it's worked out, do you know what I mean? It's probably, we know where we're going to finish. We know where we're going to.
I think the only ones that will know.
I think they're the only ones in the whole league really that know where they're going to finish. So again, we can sort of we saw it again that Tunbridge game as well with Sam Corn coming off the bench, didn't we? So we're just managing the minutes of our experienced players. I mean, we'll come on to it in a minute, obviously when we look ahead to the weekend. But there's a scenario where all the teams above us, all 6 teams, could finish on 86 points, isn't there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if we do beat Farnborough, then we'd be on 80 points. They're only 6 points behind, but in 7th place. So, we've I don't know. It's just one of those, isn't it? That as you say, hashtag never boring.
No, very much so. So let's review the top 8 over Easter then, and where it leaves us heading into final day. On Good Friday, Dorking hosted Hampton and Richmond and romped into an early 4-0 lead, mostly due to a 6-minute Carter hat-trick. That finished 4-2 to the Wanderers. Eastbourne Borough hosted Worthing in a big head-to-head clash. There's a few of them this weekend. That finished 1-1. Worthing taking the lead despite going down to 10 men early on. Borough still unbeaten at home in the league all season. Truro hosted Torquay in another one of those massive head-to-head matchups. It was the visitors who ran out 1-0 winners in front of the biggest Truro crowd of the season at their new ground. Matt Jay's winner, very much a mirror image of Pap's goal back in December for the Stones, so it's a good one to look out for if you're not caught up yet. Borehamwood travelled to Arbour Park and ran out 4-2 winners. That Matt Rush with a brace. And finally, of most relevance to the Stones, Weston-super-Mare travelled to Chippenham and lost 2-0 at Harden-Hewish Park. So that left the league table looking like this at 5 o'clock on Good Friday. Weston-super-Mare back down into 8th spot and they stayed on 75 points. The Stones had moved back up into 7th on 77 points. Borehamwood remained 6th and were on 80 points. Eastbourne Borough dropped 2 places to 5th after their draw. They ticked over onto 82 points. Dorking went up a place into 4th with their win. The second side on 82 points. Their goal difference superior to Eastbourne's. Torquay moved up a place into 3rd and were then on 83 points. Truro dropped a place down to 2nd and remained on 83 points. That meant Worthing, with their point at Eastbourne, returned to the summit for the time being at least on 84 points. That meant at this stage there was just 4 points between the top 6 and just 2 points between the top 5. Madness. Easter Monday then came round, and after the Stones finished their derby game earlier on that afternoon, everybody else in the division kicked off with the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Borehamwood hosted Enfield Town and ran out 4-1 winners. All goals from both sides came in the second half. Eastbourne Borough travelled to Salisbury. They ran out 1-0 winners. A blast from the past as Class scored the winner. Torquay hosted Weymouth. They ran out 3-0 winners with the first goal of the 3 p.m. kickoffs. And then Jay and Falston sealing the deal in the second half. And 2 more, those big head-to-heads, they keep happening over this weekend. Worthing hosted Dorking and the spoils were shared, both dropping big points at a crucial stage of the season. And finally, Weston-super-Mare hosted Truro and a Tyler Harvey double, including a 97th minute penalty, meant Weston lost 2-0. So barring a 17-goal swing on Saturday, the Stones should have a playoff spot. So going into final day, the league table stands as follows. Weston remain in 8th, remain on 75 points. The Stones point against the Angels, sees them remain in 7th, now on 78 points. Dorking dropped 2 places to 6th, they're on 83 points. Boreham Wood move up 1 spot to 5th, also now on 83 points. Worthing dropped 3 places from 1st down to 4th, now on 85 points. Eastbourne Borough moved up 2 spots into 3rd, also on 85 points. Torquay moved up 1 again to 2nd on 86 points. And they are only behind Truro on goal difference, just 2 of them. Torquay having scored 1 fewer and conceded 1 more than Truro. It is they who return to the summit again, also on 86 points. So Nigel, I'm going to give you a few hashtags here. Hashtag never dull in South. Hashtag 6 of the best. Hashtag have you ever seen 6 going for the title on a final day. Hashtag too many permutations even for me to run through.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I saw a tweet put out by the National League, it's where do we put our helicopter? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, because the title could literally go anywhere. I don't know how they're gonna do it.
No.
Really, because like you've got Truro right down in the furthest west,
Yeah.
and then you've got Dorking up sort of this end of the country as well. So yeah, it's going to be crazy, isn't it? And you know, I was looking at the table this morning, and like the teams with the better goal difference in Boreham Wood and Dorking are like in 5th and 6th place. So it only needs for those teams above them to draw a game, and then they win their game, and because they've got the better goal difference, they just shoot from 6th up to top spot. Because you know, admittedly, Boreham Wood have got to have like 2 or 3 of those games to go in their favour.
Yeah.
But you know, it could happen, and you could have a scenario where Stones are like 5 points off the top spot and finish in 7th place.
It's mad to think, as you said earlier, the whole 80 could literally be all 6 teams could somehow finish on 86 points, and that did hit me when you said that at the top of this. Cause I was thinking, yeah, you've got the 2 on 83, they can go up to 86 with a win each. The 2 on 85 both get a draw. The 2 already on 86 both lose. 6 lots of 86.
The team like Truro are up there, aren't they? And they've possibly got the hardest game because they've got Weston.
Yeah.
You know, so the team that, you know, I know it's not a head-to-head for the playoffs like we've been having, but you know, it's other teams that then Torquay are going Hemel Hempstead, so they're looking for Truro Weston to do them a favour by getting a point so that they can then win. But then they're not good on the 3G pitches and they don't travel that well as well. So it's kind of like every permutation is like, you know, and like we've said before, the league is, you know, so tight, isn't it? You know, St Albans, you know, can still, in the other end of the spectrum, they can sort of still get out of it, and Salisbury, can't they? It's between them two for the.
Well, let's actually look at the relegation battle as well then in that case, because as we mentioned, you know, this obviously we want to mention it because obviously we've relegated Welling, we've played our part in that earlier this season on Good Friday. You mentioned 2 of the 3 fixtures down there actually directly impact the top 6, the title race itself as well. So St Albans are in 21st on 45 points with a goal difference of -14. Salisbury are above the dotted line by just 1 goal. So you've got 2 goals separating top spot. You've got 1 goal separating in the drop zone. So they're also on 45 points at Salisbury. 1 goal between those 2. Enfield Town are in 19th on 48 points, but their goal difference is -35. So obviously 21, 22 worse than the 2 below them. So wins for both St Albans and Salisbury would see Enfield get relegated. But as we've already alluded to, St Albans have to travel to Truro, who are top of the league currently. Salisbury travel to Welling, who presumably would like to just drag them down with them. And then Enfield host Worthing, who are of course only a point off of top spot. So, as I was going to say here, the bottom of the league it's basically as open as the top of the league, frankly, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's obviously Western Supermare versus Eastbourne. So, you know,
it's all in there. Every match is going to have something on it.
It's crazy, isn't it? But you know, and we are kind of in that position where we know, barring a miracle of miracles, we know we're going to be seventh. We can't finish no higher. We can't finish no lower. So, you know, we were talking about it on the hot take, wasn't we? After the Tunbridge game, and yes, you'd have liked the point to sort of like really make it mathematically, but we are still in that position where we can just sit back and just watch the carnage happen around us, basically. It's madness, absolute madness.
And in terms of just completing, rounding off the edges, rounding the circle, the fixtures on the final day affecting the top 6 and the title race. So to confirm, it's Dorking hosting Chesham. Chesham with not much to play for other than that middle third mini league that's erupted. Eastbourne Borough host Western Supermare. We know how that could affect the Stones, obviously. Worthing travel to relegation threatened Enfield. Torquay travel to Hemel Hempstead. Borehamwood visit Tunbridge Angels, and Truro host relegation threatened St Albans. So 3 points between the top 6, Nigel. It's a shootout between the top 2, or do you see the title going elsewhere yourself on Saturday?
I don't know. I think I don't know.
It's a bit of a hospital question, that one, I think, in football parlance, isn't it?
I think at this point it's probably Truro's to lose. I mean, John's got a great big smile on his face behind the camera there, because he's literally
he's tipped them from minute one.
Cast your mind right back to August. You know, when we played Truro on that bank holiday weekend in August, he did say that Truro are dark horses this year. I think he meant for the playoffs at that point, but you know, we've said it before, haven't we? They've got the experience, and you know, you're looking at those managers. He's won titles. He's won the National League itself, John Husky, hasn't he? And you know, you look at the sort of like the managers. If you're looking at just the managers you're up against, you know, Mark White. Yes, they've got up for the playoffs, but he's never won the National League title at this level. Luke Garrard again got into the playoffs, but didn't actually get promotion. We know, Chris Agatar's the new manager in at Worthing this year, having come from Hastings. Paul Watton at Torquay again. You know, saved Truro from relegation last season, and but he's never sort of won anything at this level. So you know, looking at in that pot, and then obviously you've got Murray at Eastbourne as well. You know, he's got experience as fly, but he's I don't think he's actually sort of won a title. I know he was at Morecambe as well in the past, but you know, as for title winning and actually seeing it out and seeing it over the line, Askey's got that in abundance, hasn't he? So you know, you'd imagine that he'd be the one that's sort of jumping into players this week. You know, trying to keep you calm and not panic. If they do go a goal down, not panic. Just keep you calm and see how it goes, this sort of thing. So
exactly, and we've seen the way the results went. You know, Easter Monday just gone, and you saw Farnborough hitting 8. You know, and you're wondering, and people say that these sorts of results aren't that possible. They always are around the last day of the season, and it could well be that there could only be one goal in it between Torquay and Truro at that point, and it only takes a very quick 5-minute hat trick, comes out of nowhere, all the alerts come through, and then you're thinking, we've got to throw more forward to try and get back ahead of them by a goal. It's going to be way from thin margins, like that, isn't it?
We used to look at it and sort of back in the day before like the internet and that, when there was no sort of communication, people were on their little transistor radios, and the manager used to say, oh yeah, we don't care, we just got to take care of ourselves. But I think where there's so many teams involved, you know, you've got to be all over that, haven't you? If you're only drawing come the 89th minute, you know you've got to chuck everything forward to, you know, because it could be in your hands. And likewise, you know, if there's only a 1 goal swing in one of the other games, you've got to then either shut up shop if you're leading or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be so intriguing.
So here's a question for you. The highest number of points for a team failing to make the playoffs in National League South. Just another layer of showing the competitiveness of this division this season. You only have to look at the team finishing immediately outside of the playoffs to prove this. And we've extrapolated some numbers and based this on a points per game basis to make every season from the past 20 seasons a 46 game season, because obviously most of them were 42 back in the day with your Skrill and your Bet whatever sponsors they've had before. On the assumption that Western win their final game of the season to keep the Stones honest, a big ask of course, with Eastbourne with their unbeaten home record for quite some time now. Only 2 sides would have actually finished with more points than Western on 78. That would be Woking in both 2009-10 and the 2010-11 seasons, where they finished on a points per game basis of 79, and then madder still, 83 points. So Nigel, although the Stones fell short in the title race, to keep themselves the right side of the playoff line, it's going to be an achievement in and of itself, frankly, isn't it?
In this season it is, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And going back as well, some of those places, it's only the last few years that we've gone down to 7th in the playoffs, so some of those teams would have finished 6th place, yes. And not made the playoffs. So if you're doing that in this season, you could have all 6 teams on the same points. Yeah. And you miss out on the playoffs by a goal. That's madness, isn't it?
Still blowing our minds, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is madness. But yeah, so it is an achievement. I mean, that was the target for us at the beginning of the season, and in that respect, the target's been met, hasn't it? And then we're not going to get our points tally that we got last year. We drop a couple short, I think, won't we?
Yeah, we will, yeah.
But it's still been a good season, because you're looking at it and the teams that we're competing against, and the budgets that we're competing against. It's no mean feat to make the playoffs.
So, to the comings and goings at Farnborough. Yes, we're going to talk about Farnborough, apologies, since last we met. So, midfielder Manny Oyeleke announced his retirement from football following an illustrious career in the game. They then confirmed the loan signing of attacking right-back Finn Tonks. One of my favourite football player names again from earlier in the season. He's on loan from AFC Bournemouth. Defender Guy Hollis left for Slough Town. They then made the loan signing of defender Sonny Hart from Swindon Town on an initial 1-month loan. Young striker Pemi Adejoro joined on loan from Peterborough United until the end of the season. Striker Hisham Kasimu departed in January, having previously joined from Enfield. They then secured the loan signing of 19-year-old AFC Bournemouth striker John Stuttle until the end of the season. There was then the mutually agreed cancellation of the contract of defender Eden Pruti, who then rejoined Slough Town. Former Farnborough winger Selim Saeed rejoined for the rest of the season. In early February, Finn Tonk's loan spell was cut short after the Cherries exercised the option to recall their player, and he has since joined Salisbury. Defender Alexis Beeden signed after leaving Slough Town. Goalkeeper Jack Turner signed a contract extension until the end of the 26-27 season. He made his Farnborough debut away at Truro City in the Southern League Premier South in December 2021. Striker Miller Matthews Lewis joined Hemel Hempstead Town on an initial 28-day loan in mid-February. Sonny Hart's loan from Swindon Town was extended until the end of the season. Midfielder Ollie Pendlebury left to join Havant and Waterlooville. Yet another former Stone against the Stones this season. Striker Alfie Pavey had returned to Farnborough on an initial 28-day loan from Eastbourne Borough. He is back at Eastbourne again, equalising for them against Worthing on Good Friday. Young midfielder Alfie Tuck joined on loan from QPR, and Dan Bradshaw returned on loan to Winchester City for the rest of the 24-25 season. Last month into March, midfielder Harun Hamid signed on. Captain Ollie Robinson signed a 1-year contract extension, keeping him at the Saunders Transport Community Stadium until the end of the following season. He joined Jack Turner and Aaron Call so far in committing their futures to the club for next season. And their final signing to date was striker Mabunya Alamanji. So, Nigel, bunch of new signings, seemingly a bunch of familiar faces for Stones and Borough fans alike there.
A few comings and goings there, hasn't there? I mean, we played them just in December time, wasn't it, before Christmas? Yeah. So yeah, you'd expect that. And again, they've known for a while what league they're going to be in, so it's just about moving the deck chairs about, isn't it? Set themselves up for next season, and reducing the budget where you can, and bringing in the players that they want to keep, and that. Yeah, they've sort of established themselves in that top 10 level at this level, aren't they? So I don't think there's nothing on it for either team really. It's just going to be like a watch and brief from the Stones. I think it's going to be a sort of side where you're just trying to give some people some minutes, and it'd just be an interesting game from that respect. But yeah, it's just going to be one of those that we've just got to set ourselves up for what's to come.
So the key men for Farnborough, and in goal, we've already mentioned him in his contract extension, Jack Turner. He's got 9 clean sheets and has played every minute so far this season. Defender Richard Chin has missed just a handful of games and has scored 7 in the league this season. His most recent one was the opener in a 2-1 defeat at Chesham in mid-April. Midfielder Reggie Young has the most appearances in midfield this season. He's got 2 league goals so far this season. His most recent was in a 2-2 draw at Dorking. And up front, Ricky Holmes has notched double figures for the league season. His most recent goal was the opener at the start of April in a big 4-1 win at Tunbridge. So Nigel, it's a solid spine again, and a side challenging for a top 10 finish on final day.
They're building year on year, haven't they? And they've got the experience of Ricky Holmes there, and he's a veteran now, but he's obviously passing on. I think he's sort of like on the coaching staff down there. So he's, just passing on that experience to the younger players coming through. And like you say, there's that solid spine there, isn't there? So, I'm sure come next season they're set themselves up to go again and just sort of build on that and, hopefully push for that from their point of view towards a playoff place. But, it's going to be another tough season because it's another season, isn't it? But
it is for another day.
For the teams that are going to come down, it looks like there's going to be 3 teams from the National League coming down, and then obviously only 2 of those top 7 can go up.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but as I say, that's for another day.
So the form of Farnborough since last we met, just before Christmas, 23 league matches have been played by our hosts on Saturday. During that time period, they have failed to score in 13 of those 23 games, would you believe? Although they made up for that just a little, in their most recent game on Easter Monday. 13 matches away from home, including just 3 wins on the road. Those were at Worthing, Tunbridge, and of course that aforementioned 8-2 hammering at Hampton and Richmond last time out. They've had 4 draws and 6 losses on their travels as well. Their home record in that time, where we're headed to, they've played 10 at that Saunders Transport Community Stadium. 4 wins against Chesham, Weymouth, Weston and Welling, so some W's against the W's, that always helps. 1 draw and 5 defeats. They are currently in the bottom half of the form table with only 3 wins in the last 10 games. When we played them last year at the Gallagher, we kicked them out of the playoff spots, and they have not been back inside them since. So Nigel, the stats say this can be a difficult place to go, but final day nerves could mean our hosts try and return the favour from Christmas.
As I say, it's going to just what team turns up from both sides, isn't it? So that's going to be it. You got a game like this, you can't really look at form because it's just going to be what team turns up, whether we make it difficult for them or they make it difficult for us. But hopefully it's just going to be a sort of like no sort of contentious decisions, just get through the game, maybe get a couple of goals and get a sort of few players' confidence up, and then look forward to where we're going to be at 5 o'clock and where we're going to go the following week.
So if you can't remember all of the players from the previous meetings, then why not head back to our previous preview video and podcast from this season for more information on Saturday's opponents. The links to the video and podcast are both in the description below. And if you can't make it to the game, be sure to tune in to Chris and Fred on Stones Live. They will be on air from 2:40 and you'll hear them on the highlights once they go online. So it's the last day of the regular season and it's all about keeping the momentum going. And the Stones can now only finish either 7th or 8th. The latter would only come about with that 17-goal swing. And considering Western have to travel to an Eastbourne side unbeaten at home in the league for 13 months, still can't remember the last side who beat them there, that side of it may look impossible for the Seagulls. But with Farnborough having hit 8 last time out, you can never completely rule it out. And that's unfortunately why we keep coming back game after game and season after season. Add to that, 1 goal is the difference for the last relegation spot, and just 2 goals separate first and second, and all 6 of the teams above us can still win the league. Here's hoping that the Stones can rubber stamp their invite to that end of season party, as this season and division has been nothing but bonkers. Insert Dizzy Rascal, maybe not. Probably can't afford that. Our thanks, as always, to you for watching or listening to the latest preview. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, just search for the Maidstone United podcast. See or hear you for our next edition, which should be ahead of a playoff quarter-final at the side that finishes 4th, or it could end up being our season review, depending on how Saturday goes. Here's hoping it's the former. And as always,
Come on, you Stones!